So today we are going to repair the humble Game Gear. So in order to repair this, you're going to need this and one of these. So you need a small Phillips, a 0-point Phillips, flathead, security, side cutters and some pliers, some tweezers to save the fat fingers, a scalpel, some glass cleaner. You're going to need some solder to go with your soldering iron and some flux. You're also going to need a capacitor kit off eBay and also a glass lens. This is optional, but the plastic lenses get scratched to high heaven, so I definitely recommend a glass lens. They're only about £6, well worth the job. And a cloth with a bit of furniture polish. Everybody's got furniture polish under the sink. Right, let's get into it. So, not all Game Gears are repairable, contrary to popular belief. You cannot just buy capacitors, put them in and it fixes all the problems in the world. This is one that's repaired earlier. As you can see, the screen's good, the sound's good, everything works as it should, and these things are unbelievable. Back when these were released, they were a backlit colour screen. They ran off 9 volts, so they had 6 batteries in them, which didn't last very long, to say the least. Not like the Game Boy, they seem to last forever. So, how do we get a rubbish one, or solder's broken or faulty, to look like a new one? So when you're looking for a junk Game Gear, what you're looking for is one, if you have full contrast and you tilt the screen, you can see the picture fully. Now if there's any lines in the screen or any marks or any dots, or if the screen's split into 3, then that's not repairable. They're gone. Forget it. The only way to fix them is by installing a new LCD. Now here's what I'm on about. This screen, which is difficult to pick up, has got coloured lines vertically there. That's not fixable. There's 3 chips on the screen. They're only bonded onto the glass. Now they fail due to heat, age, not too sure, but that is not fixable. You can fix that in the short term, but in the long term they don't last, so walk away. So let's make a start on repairing this. First things, battery doors come off. Now this looks like it's suffered a small amount of battery corrosion on these points. This isn't the end of the world. This can be taken out and then cleaned under some malt vinegar. It cleans it up nicely. I've got lots of spares of these, so if all else fails we can swap these out. So there are 6 Phillips screws here to remove, and then 1 security screw. Now that is the larger type. These are available on eBay for £3 to £4 for the 2 sizes. The smaller size is often Nintendo. This larger size does this one. So let's do it. So with that all apart, next up, let's crack it open. So there we go, the main board, the soundboard and the power board. Now all this fluff here, this is all battery corrosion, but we'll get that out once it's all washed. So these are capacitors that you've got to replace, these. So this is a version 2, I believe they call this, because it has 2 chips. And then there is also a version 1. A version 1 only has 1 chip. Now this takes 20 capacitors, this takes 19. So you give this a pull to disconnect the power board, pull out the connector for the soundboard, and then remove the 2-pin speaker plug. Separate the two halves. Now let's strip this first off. So there we have it, blank shell. This is all battery corrosion here. This will all wash out. So we'll put that to one side, put those to one side. It's got 6 small Phillips screws around the outside. And it also has 2 larger Phillips screws holding the cart slot on. Take a larger Phillips screwdriver. Main board. So pop that to one side until later. The buttons, you have 3 silicons for that. You have a D-pad silicon. Put them to one side. Remove the D-pad. Remove the buttons. And then you're left with the screen and the speaker. And a stray screw. So to remove the speaker so you can wash it, take a large flat-headed screwdriver. Just pop it under them pins, slightly lift up, and that will remove the backing for that, which will then mean you end up with the speaker that you can wash and clean later. Next up is to take the old screen out. Now if you don't want to replace that with a modern glass or plastic version, you can keep that in exactly where it is, but the new glass screens make it a hell of a lot clearer to see the screen. So to do that, you have to push hard. These things are stuck. Well, 30 years have been on it. Ooh. There we go. So that leaves you with a new front half. Now you're fully stripped down, you can take all of this to the sink to give it a good wash, good clean, in some warm soapy water. Leave it to soak for a little while. So then when you've done all this, this is ready. Right then, so next up what you've got to do is to remove these capacitors. Now, how you do them, take a small set of pliers, just pop them on there and just give them a little wiggle and they'll crack. You'll hear them crack. And then once they've cracked, you just wobble them back and forth and then they come off. So let's do that for all of them. Right, once you've done all of that, all the capacitors are off. Now if I take a zoom in here, that's about right. You can see you're still left with the small tabs on, but we'll get rid of that once we've started to solder. That one's quite corroded there, the rest look fine. Right, in order to clean up some of these tabs, they're quite corroded, you want to get a scalpel and just try and just scrape lightly the surface, just to remove some of the corrosion, just so it's easier for your soldering iron and for you to get the things to take. To solder on new tabs onto this, you need it ready, clean, ready to be soldered. So you take your soldering iron with some good quality flux and good quality solder, preferably some with some lead in it, just gently heat the pad, and then once it's heated with fresh solder on, you can remove what was left of the old capacitor, like so. So let's repeat that for them all. Right, now that's all done, you've got all your contacts all nice and clean, they're tinned with fresh solder, so now you can go ahead and solder the fresh capacitors on. Capacitors are always available on eBay, a few different sellers. I sell them in my store, link in the description below for those. They cost around £6, all 20 are in this bag that repair both Game Gears, the V2 and the V1. So tip them out. The power board takes a 820 6.3 volt capacitor. It also takes a 25 volt 100 UF capacitor, and it also takes a 35 volt 22 UF capacitor. Those three are for the power board, so pop them over there for later. The soundboard takes three 100 by 6.3 volt capacitors, so let's get them out. So that's that one, that's that one, and also that one. So they're your three 100 by 6.3 volt capacitors. You also need two 47 UF 6.3 volt capacitors. That's that one and that one. Those ones over the soundboard, we'll tackle that in a minute. So what you have here is what fits onto this. Now this takes 19 capacitors, so you can remove a 10 UF by 16 volt, 6.3 volt it should be. 16 volt is what is supplied in this kit. Now I must say that the voltage is not important as long as it is higher than the originals. The capacitance is the correct thing to look out for. So that's a 10 UF and it replaces a 10 UF, so that's fine. Now what I like to do when I'm replacing these is I get my side cutters, I trim around that much off, if you can see that. Put that to one side, and then I have two legs. Now the negative is always marked, so the other side is positive. Now a 10 UF fits here and here. So on the board, if you can just see that they're marked positive and negative, just there, they're marked. So pop that back. So now I've done that, I know the positive is this tab facing closest to me. I get my pliers, I put them there, and I put a nice small 90-degree bend in there, just so the tabs have a 90-degree bend. So take your soldering iron and solder on like that. Now the reason I bend them like this is so that the capacitor stands tall like that, so you can hold it and you can solder it without having to worry about burning your fingers. And also it means that if you repair this board and it doesn't work for some reason, you can easily unsolder these and put them on another board, or save them till you get another board that can be worked. So we'll go through the whole lot and replace these. So what you should have when you're all soldered up, you should have all the capacitors stood nice and proud like this, all with nice solid joins. So what we'll do is, once we've tested it, we can then lay them down before it goes into the shell. So next up, the sound card. So these are surface mount capacitors, slightly different on this. The same rule applies really. Some people like to unsolder them. I just like to take them out like that, just give them a little bit of a wiggle, wiggle, and then they will come off. Now some leave the little tabs behind, that's not a problem. So there are three 100 UF capacitors. They fit there, there and there, and the small one there and there. They're 47 UF capacitors. So the same rule applies. Get your soldering iron, heat the contacts and remove and make wood for the new capacitors. So, same rules apply. Snip a small amount off the end of the capacitor. Do that to them all, speed things up. So your 3 100 UFs and your 2 47 UFs. So let's solder them on now. So there you have it, the soundboard is all finished, so pop that back over there. Now, power board, this is difficult, these are through hole soldered, so you end up through holes. Now, I have a desoldering station, so that makes it a lot easier, but if you don't, you can use desoldering wick, or just general heat and a wiggle, that often works, but I'm going to go over to my desoldering station and sort that out. So now it's all fully desoldered. Desoldered all them pins there through the back. So what we have to do now is, again it's marked with a positive and negative, you poke those through like so and just bend the back tabs over slightly. So they're all soldered up there. So what we'll do now is we'll just put it down and then we'll solder. So again, you just have to solder them on the back there and let the solder take to the hole pad. Now another common fault with these are on the power socket. There's this connector here. A bit better. This connector here. This often cracks under dry solder joint. So if you just reheat it with a bit more solder, that cures a lot of issues if the power cable, when it's connected, if you wobble it and it breaks the power connection. So that's all sorted now. So now the motherboard is done, the main board, you've got your recapacitor soundboard and your recapacitor power board. Now you can plug all of those back in to test things out. Leave them as they are with the capacitor stuck up at the minute. Once they're all reconnected, grab your speaker, connect that back in. These can only go one way, they only fit in the sockets one way, so there's not much chance of getting it wrong. put a game in of your choice. Sonic is the obvious classical choice. And then arrange it like that. So that should all be working. Get your power supply. If you don't have a power supply, you'll have to rebuild it all in the case before you can do this stage. Switch it on. Right, let's do the classic blowing the cartridge. No, you shouldn't. Right, there you go. We've got a good screen, good sound. Again. So we've just repaired that now. So that is no contrast, and that is full contrast. So the camera's different, so it doesn't pick it up as it should with your eyes, but right. So that's ready. So now you're at this stage, you can unplug it all again. As you've tested it, you know it's working. So now it's all checked and ready to go, you can refold these down to miss these areas here. Just like that. Now this came a bit loose when I was folding it down, so I'll just give that another quick blob like that. So that's good. Right, so that's ready to go in the case now. The soundboard. This is the same process. So if you just bend and fold it into place, like so, go there. Just make sure none of these touch each other. So that's that all finished there. That's ready. Power board's ready. Now let's go and get the shell from the kitchen. So you've got all your nice clean wash parts from the kitchen after being done in soapy water. You see all of that has gone now. Also the rot there has disappeared. So that's all nice and clean. This is ready. Right, so put the back to one side for a minute. We'll work on the front. So to reattach the speaker, pop it back in place. There's a small location tab there. Tuck the wire up there. Now this, the holding put, if you push it back on like that, then that's not quite enough. What you need to do is get your soldering iron and just touch them parts again. The way this was originally fitted was just melted together. So if you do the same, then that's securely got that speaker now. That's all in place. Now what I like to do is put a small bit of sellotape on there, bit of electrical tape on there just to hold it in place. Because that is the area that you want it to be in. So pop your buttons back in. So that's all back in place. Then you have the foam for the screen. This just keeps the dust from going from the case to the screen once it's all sealed. There are some small location tabs there. So that's all back together now, ready to accept that. But before we do that, we're going to get some IPA on the contacts on the back of the silicon pads just to make sure everything's nice and clean, so we get a good button. So we're just going to give that a clean. So next, to get this in, you have to tuck it as the volume wheel goes into that shell there. So if you pop the volume wheel in where it wants to go and then tuck it in but first make sure the D-pad silicon's where it's supposed to be. Right, so tuck that in there. There's a little wall there that you hit against. Right, that's in. So you get the two large Phillips screws for the cartridge slot in first. That holds everything in place where it wants to be. There we go. Now next up, we've got to put these small Phillips ones in. Right, so that's all in. Let's move on to the back. So the power board, always remember to put your power switch on first. That slots over there like that for alignment. The soundboard, that also has to tuck into the top there. So we'll screw them down. Then we have this. Now because we've not used surface mounted on these, we've used through hole capacitors, this gets in the way. Now what it does I don't know, but the easiest way is to get some tin snips and just snip it off. The Japanese Game Gears, they don't have this, they finish at that line, so I don't think it's necessary. Might just be a Europe and America thing. Right, so the back half is now finished. So bring the front half back. Tweezers again helps on this one. Pop the speaker back in. Then pop the soundboard back on. Then the power switch, power board back on. And then you can close everything up. Pop. We won't put that on quite yet, as once I'm at this stage I like to get a little bit of Pledge furniture polish on a cloth just to give it a wipe over. It makes the black more black. Just get a bit of furniture polish on a cloth. So that's what stage we're at now. So now we've got to get some glass cleaner, clean the screen and get our brand new glass lens. I'll use some optics cleaner, small microfiber, and also a glass lens. Now the link in the description below for these, they're about £6. They're a flat glass as opposed to curved like the original plastic ones were, but they're really good quality. So we just spray some of that on there. This is the worst part of any job, because no matter how clean you get it, there's always one little bit of dust. There. That's pretty good. So these have two protective films on it, back and front. And then they have peel off for the sticky. And then a separate peel off for the glass screen part. Get rid of that. Now these are always spotlessly clean from the factory, so we'll pop that back on there like that. Give it a final wipe over. And there you have it. That should be a fully functioning Game Gear. So put some back in. And there we have it. Some Sonic Let's get it back up here a bit. On the screen again, the camera doesn't do this justice really, but it's working. The flicker you see is just the screen and camera and LED lights I've got off me. Ooh. So we just test the control, see if I can bring it back in focus a bit for you. Yeah, should be left, right, up, down, up, up. Jump around. Now Sonic, you just have to hold right and jump, pretty much. Press down and down the jumps. Oh no. Anyway, so there you have your fully functioning Game Gear with a new screen, all nicely cleaned up, ready. Now if you'd like more reviews, more mods, more repair videos, I'll be doing them over a period of time. I've not got a lot of time at the minute, but I'll do them as and when I can. They'll be linked in the description or click somewhere around here. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful.